back into the house. I remember one, and this was in the winter, and it was a time when Grandmother Shepherd was visiting in the wintertime. I remember we were, what I remember is Mother and me and Grandmother sleeping in that room. Mm-hmm. And I remember a black snake.
I was involved in that too.
Were you? Okay.
Yes.
You remember that too?
So where were you?
Where was I?
Where were you in the house? From what vantage point did you witness that?
It's somewhere in that room. I just remember being in that room. It was in the house. Right.
My memory of that is Daddy and I had gone to a training union on Sunday night.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Sunday night. And we came home and Daddy opened the screen door outward. And in order to unlock, I guess, and open the door to enter the house, the main door. And that black snake, we hadn't noticed, but it was between the two doors.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And when, of course, we were terrified, no doubt. We opened, here we were standing outside. It couldn't go that way. So when he opened the main door, it went inside. And in that bed, in that room, was Grandma, yes, but also Mrs. Chambers.
Okay, I didn't remember that.
Earl Chambers, Allman's mother. She had come up to visit, I guess, for one night and reminisce and enjoy her, because they went back, they had raised their children all those years at the same time, basically. And I remember, of course, Daddy had to turn on the lights in order to find the snake. Mm-hmm. And it had gone behind, I think there was some kind of a settee or a sofa. There was something in that room against the outer wall. My memory is that he got a hoe and to fish the snake out and, pick it up with the hook of the hoe and take it outside. But my most vivid memory, while he was doing all of that, Grandma and Mrs. Chambers, who both, when they slept, let down their long hair. Right? They both had hair that, in a bun.
Right.
But to sleep, they let down their long hair. And they both sat when the light, I don't know what, there must have been talk. Daddy must have said, "Excuse me, and we've got to turn on the light," or something. But my memory of them is them sitting bolt upright in bed in silence, just watching as Daddy extracted that black snake. So obviously it was a big event. I mean, You remember it well too.
Yeah. At one point, I remember that Mother and Dad decided to get a television in the old house.
Yes.
And we kept it for a very short time because the reception was terrible. The only channel you could get was Asheville, Channel 13, which was very unreliable, or maybe occasionally one from Tennessee, but overall the reception was so bad that it was judged to not be worth.
Right. It was always snowing, as I remember.
Yeah. I just remember that we briefly had the television and it didn't work out, so we didn't keep it.
Heartbreak, right?
Yeah. And did we have a phone? Did we always have a phone up there?
I do. I remember a phone there.
Okay. I know we did at some point. Did we? I guess we did.
I don't know if it was always. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised.
It seems like that's something Daddy would have done with Mother being there.
That's right. By herself, especially often he was working at night, and especially during the house construction time, he worked.
Yeah.
So he could be present during the day to consult Woodson Emery. So that I do remember a phone there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we always had.
And another thing I remember is, and I know this happened at least once while we were living there, and maybe more than once. I remember our shepherd uncles and relatives coming over and having a big thing on the front, in the front yard and the front porch in the summertime. I don't know if it was like watermelon or what, but I remember many of the aunts and uncles being there.
That must have happened because I've seen photographs with a lot of people. But there they are.
I think I remember like maybe Aunt Ola and Aunt Zelma sitting in the swing there on the end of the house, on the end of the porch. But I remember there being, lots of shepherds around.
Yeah, I think they came probably a lot.
Yeah.
They like to get out for a walk and they were buddies.
And I remember looking for arrowheads in the field out there, both before and while we were still lived there and after we left.
Going out whenever the few times that field was plowed, I remember going out and following the tractor, and you could just find them, turned up by the plow.
And then after it was plowed and if it come a good hard rain, they were easy to find because it would wash the soil away from. Found a few of them there, and then a few of them I traded from guys when I was in school. Guys that had them, we'd trade, trade stuff, like trade a knife for arrowheads or vice versa.
And you made a collection?
I did have a collection. And I think I know what happened to those when I was in college. And after I'd been there a couple of years, I was actually living off campus. I was still in Berea, but I was living off campus with a friend and in a little cabin about half a mile out of town. And I had gone out of town for something. I can't remember what it was, but I was away for the weekend. I came back and the house had burned down. They were in there, and then I remember digging around in the ashes, trying to find them. Never could find anything, but I had them with me there. I had them with me, and they were lost when that house burned.
The barn.
The barn, yeah.
Any particular memories of that?
Yeah. I remember that there was electricity in it. I remember that Daddy had one point had put it was a big deal when he put this door that was suspended overhead, and you could slide it back and forth because it made you could seal off the entryway, but it was very convenient. You could push it to the side. I remember the years that I guess most of the time somebody else grew the tobacco there, and I remember hanging it in the lot. It was a North Carolina tobacco barn.
That's right. The upstairs part was the tobacco barn.
Hanging it in the upstairs, and I remember the smell. I remember going up there. I remember the smell. It was a great smell. I mean, I can remember it to this day. That if just the curing tobacco. I remember them packing it in these big oak baskets.
Yes.
Oak split baskets. And I remember at least one time going to the tobacco market with the tobacco. I don't remember. They sold it at auction,
Yeah. And I think one year we grew it ourselves one year.
At least 1 year, yeah.
At least 1 year. Because I remember working in the field there down by the Barnardsville
And you
Road.
and Gerald were probably involved in putting it up into the hanging it.
I don't remember that, but I do remember working through the field. I think we were doing what was called suckering, taking off the little undesirable sprouts that would damage the main leaves.
Right, they wouldn't grow as much.
I remember doing that, and also I remember helping plant it.
Yeah, I do and it was sticky. It was sticky work doing remember that?
Yeah.
With the suckers.
You're right, and then and I do remember the planting in that field.
I remember the planting too. Yeah. So we at least 1 year, maybe more years, because I have a pretty strong memory of that too.
1 year, but then Uncle Floyd rented it for several years.
Okay. Yeah.
And the Cooks, Mr. and Mrs. Cook, did it at least 1 year, and that was at least 1 year was after we moved into the new house, because they brought it into the basement.
Right, I remember that.
To do the handing and sorting work.
Yeah, I remember actually participating in that, making the hands.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
I
remember that it was open all the way through, there wasn't a door on the backside, was there?
I don't believe there was.
Till later.
Yeah, I don't think there was a door.
Yeah.
Through there were those wonderful big Blackheart cherry trees. Do you remember?
Right, around where the Daddy built the reservoir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those, yeah.
And the tragedy was that they were so tall that you could never pick most of the cherries. I mean,
even though they had just tons of cherries up on the tops of
there they were, way up there. You would have had to have a cherry picker.
Yeah.
We did not have, but they were delicious sweet cherries.
I remember always sort of being in, talk about the dog trot through the house. when you
Yes,
onto the back porch. Now that door was still functional, right?
yes,
Okay.
it was.
I remember just always being kind of intrigued by that space back there.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I liked going back there, and I guess when I was a little kid, they were nervous about me falling off the porch or something. But
Because there wasn't much of a railing,
no, there wasn't.
if
Yeah.
any. If
Yeah,
any.
I don't think there was any.
I think
as I
on
remember.
the far end there might have been some boards which kind of you'd used to
Yeah.
set something on. And I remember one time Daddy had a hankering for what do you call leather breeches,
Mhm.
dried
Mhm.
green beans.
Yeah.
I can remember the green beans drying,
Yeah.
hanging up back there.
And now that's triggered another memory. I remember sitting back there on that porch with Mother and maybe with Grandmother Shepherd stringing beans on threads and hanging them up,
Right.
working on the
So
back porch.
And that's where they were dry. That's my memory of them drying, is hanging up
Yeah.
under the roof.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But I remember sitting back there, out there in the summertime or fall, stringing up
I
the beans.
remember helping chop sour cabbage
Okay, I remember that too
back
now.
there
Yeah.
that must have been a pretty sturdy ledge, kind of at waist level on that, near the back door.
Uh-huh.
Because I remember helping chop cabbage there to make sauerkraut.
Mother did that. She did that several years, didn't she?
Yes, I think she did it.
And I think she did
More than
it,
one year.
continued it down at the new place
So,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. And now that you mention it, I think I have a recollection of being on the back porch and being aware that there was that other door there that was blocked up. But it just never kind of occurred to me to think, oh, this is where this is blocked up because this is where the sink is. We can't go
Right. It
in.
was very noticeable from that side.
Yeah.
It was boarded up, and above it was a window.
Was the fireplaces in the kitchen and the back room, were they blocked up or were they open?
I'm in the kitchen. I'm pretty sure was blocked up because
Okay.
we had a little what Daddy and Mother called a laundry heater.
Oh, it was a flat top.
Little
Right.
flat top. You could
Okay.
cook on it. It didn't have much of a firebox, but it would provide some heat, and you could set a pot or even two maybe on top of it and boil water or whatever at a flat top. And I think that was the way we kept that room warm, probably, because that
Okay.
was too far away from the big cold heater or the so-called warm morning heater in the living room.
Right.
So I think that laundry heater was critical for
Probably, yeah.
some warmth when we ate back there in the kitchen and while
So-
Mother was cooking.
So where was the electric stove and the refrigerator in that room?
Well, let's say you turned to go towards that exit door. I think the refrigerator was in the corner to your right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then the electric range was on that wall, the living room wall, so to speak,
Okay.
on your left.
So presumably it had to be wired for 220 then for the kitchen.
Probably, that was probably done by Daddy or
Yeah, probably, yeah.
had it done. I doubt that it was already. It's possible that the Hamlin family also had that kind of equipment.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I have some vague sense that he had that service installed so that we could have an electric stove.
Right.
Because at Beechtree, I don't think we had that. I think Beechtree, my memories of of the cooking always was on a kerosene range.
Oh, really?
An
Now,
odd kind of thing. It had burners.
was it one of those portable things, or was it just did you stand on the floor?
It stood up on legs. It had burners on, as I recall, on the left, maybe 4 kerosene burners.
Uh-huh.
And I'm pretty sure the oven was at that same level on the right. It wasn't underneath. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure because it had
So
to
it was
have fire
a
under
range.
it.
It was just powered by kerosene.
It was kerosene,
Oh.
yeah. And I don't think we had it hooked to an outside tank. I think we filled it had some tank
Built-in tank.
attached
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah.
hanging on the side. And we brought kerosene and filled it that way, I think. So I think having an electric stove was a huge advance convenience for Mother. I sort of vaguely remember the electric stove was new when we moved into the Bell house.
Yeah, okay.
That was a big, one of the shiny objects in our new life.
Mm-hmm. And so then in the back room, was the fireplace open in there?
You know, I don't remember it ever being used. So, but whether it was open or not, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I do remember the fireplace being used in the front room, the room to the right of on the Allman side of the house.
Well, you probably, since you were sleeping in that room,
Yeah,
your memory of that is.
I'm pretty sure that we had a fire in there on occasion. And did we always have the Christmas tree in the living room?
That's where I remember it. I remember it being in the living room.
Okay.
Actually, that was the smaller room.
Yeah, it was.
And I don't know why they decided to do it that way.
Maybe because it's easier to keep it warm. If you're, sort of, it's close to the kitchen, you can kind of heat that part of the house.
That part of the house. That's probably.
And the other room, you can put on blankets at night, you can.
That's right. I actually don't remember being cold there. I
don't either.
Talk about it.
I don't either.
I
don't remember being uncomfortable.
Yeah, I don't at all. My memories of that house are pretty idyllic.
Yeah. No, I don't
remember being cold in that upstairs room at all.
Yeah.
In that bedroom.
And there was a closet to the left of where the fireplace up there.
That's right.
And in Gerald's room, the closet was also to the left of his fireplace.
That's right.
Next to the attic room.
Right. And the door into that attic where I always imagined that he stored all of his treasures.
Yeah.
whatever they were. His secret things were in that room.
You both remember Saturday night baths?
Yes.
Whether we needed them or not, Saturday night.
Yes, very severe. Yes.
And that old round wash tub. I think it was close to the warm morning heater too.
Oh, you think it was in the living room?
Seemed like.
I remember. Well, it may be in the winter. That would make sense.
I remember them being by the warm morning stove at the Bell house.
Oh, one of the pictures, by the way, that I have, it's a picture of you, Hoyt, in the yard of the Bell house in a deep snow, really quite bundled up with a very wonderful expression on your face, as if, I'm not sure what it meant, but does it ring any bell? Do you remember?
I do remember there being one winter being a really deep snow there. I do remember that. I don't.
Yeah.
I thought I remembered something I wanted to ask you, Gerald. In the back room at the old house, beyond the kitchen there, that had the big cupboard in the corner cupboard.
Yeah.
I remember at some point there being an old clock in there that was about, so wide and about 2 feet tall, maybe, a stand-up clock that maybe sat on the mantle or somewhere. But I remember this clock being there. I remember it had kind of a painted face, glass face with flowers or something on it. But the weird thing I remember about is, my recollection of it is that the works of the clock were made out of wood.
You sure that was up there or the one I've got now? I've got one.
Does it have wooden works?
Yeah, it didn't come from there. I bought it from an old lady over in Asheville when I was working. I found it in her basement.
Well, no, I remember. I have a distinct memory of one being in that house.
Maybe there was one there too. Then I don't remember it.
But do you have any idea when those were built? Then I wouldn't have thought when they would have
been. Mine is around 1830, I think. It's got a thing in the back of it, paste on with the man's name that built it. Don't have the date, but
oh, no kidding.
I've got a clock book, and I found his name, the one that made the clocks up in Connecticut or somewhere, I believe, and got a time period around 1830, 1840, somewhere like that.
I wonder what kind of wood they used for the
Applewood, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, his name was Chauncey Boardman. I guess you heard the story about me letting the horse run away with the sled, didn't you? I wasn't supposed to mess with the horse, while Daddy was at work. A lot of stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing, but he was working, 3 till 11. So I thought I'd get the horse and sled out and and that, I can't remember which horse it was. He owned a couple of work horses, different times. One was named Dolly. I had the sled and I was coming out that road, right above Bale's house there. And, that horse, she was real gentle, but if anything slid up and touched her leg, she was gone. And I let the sled slide some way and hit her legs. And she ran through the entry of that barn, and the sled caught on the edge of the barn or something, or maybe it went out the other side and hit a tree, but it tore the sled all to pieces and jerked her harness off. And it's sort of hard for me to explain that when Daddy got home.
At least the horse wasn't hurt.
Yeah. And me and Dale, on Sundays, they had the race out the racetrack, had NASCAR out there, at Gene Fluter's place, where North Welcome High School is now,
Yeah.
the racetrack. And on race day, me and Dale would hike up the mountain behind that house all the way to the top. Did you ever go to the top of that mountain?
Yeah.
Anyway, we'd hike up there and right on top of that mountain and take binoculars, and we'd sit there and watch the little look like little bees or something going around, but we was watching the race,
I remember that you could hear it from.
Yeah,
from
you could
both
hear it from the
houses.
house, couldn't you?
Yeah, from the Bell house and from the new house too.
Yeah, I remember when Daddy first had the new road built in there. He got Gene Sluter, got on the racetrack, that he had all the grading equipment. He may have been the one that graded for the house. I'm not
Probably
sure.
was, yeah.
He had him to build a new road all the way from the old
Right.
road across the creek and all the way up to
Right.
the old house. And we put a new bridge in down there. And I think a bunch of the people in the neighborhood come and help build that bridge. And I think Uncle Floyd and Uncle Harold and Jim Deaver and all of them was in on it, come and help build that bridge. And the abutments at the end of it, they put dirt in there, but that dirt wasn't packed real good. And the guy came down with the motor grader after he got done building the road, came down with a motor grader and started across that bridge, and the front end sunk down and pushed the bridge in. But there was still a bridge there. That they call that the twin bridges, because the Evans still had their bridge over there too. So while that bridge was being rebuilt, we had to use their driveway and their bridge. Yeah, we had a bridge and they had a bridge.
Remember when Daddy was, and I associate with him driving in one of the Jeeps to work, us walking down from the old house, and waiting at the end of the road there, walking all the way and waiting for Daddy to come home.
Yeah.
Watching up the hill toward the pack saddle for Daddy's Jeep to come across the.
And he built us that little building there to wait on the school bus in.
That was that was the old road.
Old road,
Yeah, that's before the U road came through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before the new road came. Because he was still working what he called the graveyard shift.
That little building he built would, I guess, where the mailboxes are now, so we wouldn't have to wait in the rain and the weather.
And the other thing I remember about that house is that basically it was just built on a bunch of stacked up stone piers.
That's right.
The foundation was just stacks of, but I always remember being sort of amazed at obviously the people who built it knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because it stood there, never moved until it was torn down, but it was built on loose stacked stone piers. As I recall, it was just big flat rocks carefully stacked on top of each other to the same level all over. And then they laid the beams on that.
That's
and
right.
It had big hewn beams, didn't it, underneath?
Yes. And I think that was the tipping point for Daddy and Mother, and the decision about whether to try to renovate or build new, was that some of those beams were in bad condition. I think I remember, especially around maybe in the area of that cellar
where it was been low there. Yeah.
Somewhere in there, some of the beams rotten, were no good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I think they were thinking they could have insulated, they could have repaired the siding, which a lot of the siding was rotten.
Right.
Falling off, really.
Yeah.
But I think that was too basic, the real structure of a house.
Yeah.
Would have required.
Oh, I remember something I wanted to ask you. Do we have any idea when that house was built?
I don't think so, not literally, just because of the style must have been in the late 1800s.
I would think, yeah.
You know, we could probably figure out. I'll work on that actually. That's a good point, because we believe that it was built by Taylor Bell, and we could probably figure out when he married and had a family in the family,
Right.
and that kind of thing. You could probably place it kind of approximately based on that, but
Yeah.
that it would be guesswork.
That's another one of those questions I never thought of asking, you know, when there was anybody around who would have known. Sure.
I'm thinking that we probably all protected Mother and Daddy from any sense that we were distraught about not living there.
Yeah.
My memory is that was just such a place of adventure and excitement and expansive living.
Yeah.
And somehow the new house was nice, but was different. Right. It wasn't what the old place had been.
Do you remember that Daddy felt the same thing, I think. Do you remember him going up there on a Sunday, and he had a bed in there in the old house, and he'd go up and have naps in the old house? This may have been after you were.
I don't remember that.
But he kept it. I remember he kept a bed in there, and I remember him going up there, and he liked to go up there and have naps.
Yeah.
He had a bed in the front room, in the living room.
Yeah.
In what was the living room. And I remember him liking to go up there. And this is probably when I was a teenager. And maybe
I
even
was
after.
probably already away by then.
Yeah. But I definitely remember that kind of sense of nostalgia and just affection for the place, and wanting to, liking to go out and hang out and have a nap up there. Yeah.
It was a beautiful place.
It was, yeah.